Okay, so the first thing that I wanted to do is I want to introduce you guys to biofeedback because I get so many questions about it and I feel like people think it's voodoo and a lot of people get scared of it, to be honest, and they're just, they're scared of the unknown and they're not really sure what it is that we do. So I want to do a quick video to just kind of run through what it looks like and how it works. And it basically starts with this, which is called the reactivity test. Now, before this, I will enter in your full name, address, place of birth, time of birth if you have it, as much information as I can get. If we do distance sessions, I also put a picture in, and then I have a ritual that I say before and after each session that kind of helps me tap into your energetic fingerprint as well as the computer. And so when we do a session, if you are energetically sensitive, typically people will feel this reactivity test. Not everybody does. Probably only about 1% of people that I work on actually do feel it. But for the most part, it's not something that you feel. However, some people do get tingly and they feel energy moving, which is kind of fun. So this is the reactivity test. And what the reactivity test is doing is it's basically submitting in electrical, I guess they're not even electrical, they're energetic frequencies. So everything carries a frequency. So if I said the word betrayal or cheating or breast cancer or anxiety attacks, if you have any experience with these, just the word alone, you're going to have a stress response to it. Your body is going to have a stress response just to me saying breast cancer. So if you've struggled with it in the past, or you know someone, or you lost someone because of that ailment or emotion, it will show up on here as an acute stressor or as a chronic stressor. Now, the way we tell the difference is if it's acute, it's in red and it's high. So this is out of 2,000. So on a scale from 0 to 2,000, these are things that come up that are an acute stressor. Now at the bottom, chronic stressors are going to be under 100. So all of these, and remember there's 7,000. So it looks like you have a ton of chronic stressors, but it's running through all of these categories: allergens, amino acids, chromosomes, flower essences, which are basically emotional healing remedies, homeopathic remedies, virus, bacteria, energetic fields from the earth, chakras, aura, color therapy, you name it, this pretty much has it. Like I said, there's 6,800 in this panel, and then there's another like almost 3,000 in another panel. And then over here, these are all supplements that I've actually I've stored into the computer. Now this isn't my actual, like my complete biofeedback computer, this is just my home computer, but I have more in the biofeedback work computer. And so basically what this is doing is it's testing your response to these supplements to see what you need and what you are kind of neutral to. So when I test, it's basically submitting the frequency to your body and it's receiving your body's response, which is biofeedback basically. And whether you're using a pendulum, whether you're doing Reiki, whether you're doing applied kinesiology or muscle testing, those are all forms of biofeedback. It's basically asking a question and receiving the answer. So let's just try it. Say we're trying to treat somebody for anxiety. We can search anxiety and it'll pull up everything related to anxiety. So you can see that this is a flower essence and it's a rescue remedy, and it's for the relief of emotional symptoms related to injuries with bleeding, contusion, sprains, sudden onsets of symptoms and fevers. It's great for anxiety, traumas of grief, shock, and septic conditions. And so by giving somebody this frequency, it would help with these symptoms. These are balanced, all the ones in blue. And then if we go to chronic, this is another remedy, a homeopathic remedy. And it looks like these are the only 3 things that she has chronically for anxiety. And then we could look for, let's just say, cortisol. So we could look for things related to cortisol. So if it's an amino acid, if it's a, so like cortisol increase, so it's, I can't necessarily say it's high or low, but if cortisol is showing up as a stressor, it's typically imbalanced, which means it's not balanced. And so it's not a diagnostic tool, so we can't say you have high cortisol or low cortisol, but typically if it shows up that it's not in balance, then it'll mean there's some sort of stress response around that, meaning you're not getting enough or there's too much of it. So, and then we could look for anger. We could look for any emotion, really. We could look for chakras, and we go down to chronic. So we have anger number 1, anger number 2, Adrenals is showing up in the glands because of anger, where it says in the definition that they respond to times of danger or anger. And then there's another remedy that's a homeopathic detoxification for anger, irritability, fears, painful lower back. You name it, it has it. So it's pretty crazy, but what we're looking for is we're trying to find a trend of what it is that the body wants to work on. And so sometimes when we do testing, it'll tell us in the reactivity panel, I didn't run one today, but it'll tell us where your body wants to work. So now I'm going to go to the susceptibility panel, and the susceptibility panel tells me what your body is susceptible to today. So for today, it's coming up neurological, which could be neurotoxins. It could be her brainwaves are imbalanced. It could be that she's anxious or has some depression issues. It could be that her crown chakra is blocked. And then we see here amoeba back. So anything over, I pay attention to anything over 75. So amoeba is acute, as well as the liver. And I know from personal experience that she struggles with digestive issues, and then under 10 is chronic. So we've got digestion, parasites, amoeba, bacteria. These are all signs that would lead to her digestion being off. And then I'm going to close this now that the name's gone. And then trauma, emotional stability. Everything is all connected. So you wouldn't necessarily even have to tell me your symptoms in order for me to actually give you a reading of what it is that your body has going on, because it'll all make sense. So based off of the reactivity test, it'll tell us if your body wants to start with organs first. So let's just say we go to the organ panel. Now, there's a couple things that we look at, or that I look at when I do biofeedback sessions. I look at the organ, but I also know the associated emotion to it as well. So the gallbladder is chronic, and that holds anger. The gallbladder holds anger. The hypothalamus is your body's regulator, but it's also what perceives threats, which triggers the endocrine system, which is basically your hypothalamus, your pituitary, your adrenals, your pineal gland. But those are basically all the areas that trigger your stress response. So when you're in high stress states, you have to move, there's a death in the family, you're in a bad patch with your boyfriend or your husband, your stress hormones are constantly going, or whether you're just on the go or you work a lot or you're a single mom or whatever. And so when the hypothalamus comes up, that usually triggers or signifies some sort of stress response. Same thing with the stomach. And then the immune system usually shows or indicates that they're fighting something, which wouldn't surprise me because amoeba, parasites, and bacteria all came up in the susceptibility panel. So one of my favorite areas to do is the chakras and the aura. And the reason I like this is because it helps me identify emotional and physical symptoms. So you saw in the susceptibility panel, it came up neurological. Now, when the crown chakra is blocked because of its location, that can create neurological symptoms like memory loss, brain fog, confusion, ADD, anxiety, but it also is your connection to the divine source. And so if your crown chakra is blocked, then none of the other chakras, obviously you can tell most of them are blocked. So again, we're looking for numbers over 50, but really I pay attention to the ones over 75. So for her, we've got the crown chakra, the heart chakra, and the spleen chakra. Now, when I do sessions, I go into what all of these mean and how they're affecting you in your life right now. And I can put a link down in the comments so that you can see what each of them means. But basically, your crown chakra is your connection to the divine source, which you could call God, the universe, the great spirit, whoever you pray to or worship. The heart chakra is how you give and receive love. And the spleen chakra is really about intimate relationships, money, sex, power, control. And then the throat chakra is about speaking your truth and being honest. And I ran the color profile. So the green color that you're seeing over here is really what the body wants to receive for color therapy. And that could be to balance out the bright yellow or to get rid of some of the murky colors that you see over here. And when I run the aura, this is actually her aura, and it takes a little bit longer because the aura is not directly connected to your body. It's the energy field around your body. And the reason I run this is because I want to check for dark or murky colors. We don't like to see grays. We don't like to see dark greens, dark blues, dark reds. We like to see all like this bright yellow color. And you can see one of the things that I look for is I actually look for gray or black shadows over the head, and that can signify some negative energy. It's not anything scary. It's just, it could be a bad work situation, or it could be somebody else's energy that kind of got stuck on you. And so I like to make sure that I take a look at that and I clear it. And then if we go into another thing that I like to look at is hormones. So we can check hormones and see if the stress hormones are imbalanced, and the stress hormones are going to be things like ACTH, the pituitary gland, the hypothalamus, cortisol, epinephrine, and it looks like on here what's coming up for her is epinephrine, DHEA, and then the hypothalamus and the pineal gland actually. So we can definitely tell that there is some, and I think, no, it wasn't. There are some stress hormones that are coming into play here that we really want to keep track of. So I would go in and I would balance these. I would do a 3-minute ovarian stim, and then I could do, which will balance pretty much all of the primary female hormones. And then I could go in and I could do all of these top hormones. So this is really helpful in calming sessions if there's, if people are anxious or if they're in like a high cortisol state. So these are just areas that I like to check, especially if people are in a fight or flight state, if their bodies can't go into the parasympathetic nervous system. And then if you look down here at the last hormone, this is chronic. See how it's in green? It affects the gallbladder, so it stimulates the release of bile by the gallbladder, which is also going to affect her digestion. So it's taking the pieces of the puzzle and putting everything together. So obviously we can customize or cater the session to what it is that the person needs or wants, but the body is also going to tell us maybe why you have what you have going on, and that's important. So when we go in, these are all the panels that we can test for. And one of the other ones that I like to do sometimes, but I don't always, it depends on where the person's at, is the emotional panel. Now, the thing to remember about the emotional panel is, especially if you're empathic, not all of these emotions are yours. So let's just say that you're being overly observant, or you're a little bit too timid, or you're not communicating that well. It doesn't necessarily tell you if there's an excess or a deficiency in these emotions. It'll basically tell you that there's an imbalance in these emotions. So again, because it's not a diagnostic tool and we can't treat anything in particular, what I like to do with this is I like to send people home with kind of like a journaling exercise, which is basically to help them understand where these emotions are coming from. Now, these are acute emotions, which are usually things that are bothering or plaguing the person at that time. So observant, timidity, communication, maybe they're not communicating with their family or their friends enough. Floating sensation is always funny to me when it comes up because it's usually followed by a blocked crown chakra, which we saw in the chakra test. Reservedness, maybe being too reserved or somebody they know. Laughter, not laughing enough is usually the case. I don't know people that laugh too frequently. Greed, lethargy, pleasure, or lack of interest. So there's a lot of stuff on here. If you know the people well enough and you know what they're going through and where they're at in their life, some of these are spot on. And then when they're not, it's typically because these emotions belong to somebody else. So let's just say, for example, that this person is a great communicator, but her daughter isn't, or her husband isn't, and she's worried about what they're going through, but they're not communicating with her. This can come up for them. Another thing that I see a lot on people that come up, like counselors or therapists, is that they can pinpoint all of these emotions to one of their clients. And usually it's because we think about our clients. We care about people that we're close to. And so sometimes these emotions can come up for somebody else. So when I do these tests, I won't do all 4 panels in the same day, although I will do 1 or 2 of them. If we do too many emotional stressors, then it could actually send somebody into not necessarily a mental breakdown, but they can have some pretty negative effects from it. So I like to make sure that they're calm enough to actually receive the frequencies from an emotional healing session. Now, over here you see there's the conflict stress factors, and the conflict stress factors are basically things that they're dealing with as a problem in their life right now: belief conflict, work conflict, life direction conflict. And then you have relationship stress factors and age stress factors. Now, one of my favorite things about the age stress factors is you can actually test all the way back to conception, first trimester while you were in your mother's womb. So if she was stressed during your pregnancy, or unfortunately, if you were adopted, you can clear emotional stressors from pre-birth, which is actually really powerful for people that their moms either had to give them up for adoption, or their mothers had very stressful or traumatic pregnancies, because sometimes we'll carry emotions that don't actually belong to us. And then we have over here, we have the biofeedback panel. Now this is one of my favorite options because I can actually run these overnight if I want to, or I can leave them on for a couple hours. And these are things like anxiety reduction, inner peace, there's stress reduction, tranquility, well-being. And normally what I have people do during this is I'll have them lay back and close their eyes and do a couple deep breaths and let me know which ones they feel stronger than others. And then from there, I basically leave that one on for a little while. There's also mystical ones. These are really fun for me. I know that probably trips some of you guys out, but we can stimulate meditation. We can stimulate what I call mystical stim is basically giving you your mojo back. It just puts you in a really awesome mood and kind of makes you feel like yourself again. But then we also have behavior patterns, which can help you change your attitude around a certain thing, help you reduce fear, anger, irritability, help you be more connected to your mind-body, reduce fatigue. And then we also have things like, I can never remember which one it's in, but I thought it was in brain. Oh, clearing the energy field is one of the ones that I do to get rid of the negative energy in the aura. Oh, here it is. Circadian stabilization. Basically what that is that helps with sleep patterns. And we know that that's an issue because the pineal gland was blocked in the hormones, and that creates melatonin, and melatonin is a sleep regulator. So it's all connected. So if we go back to, and then another one I like to do, and these are just some of them, you guys. I'm not even going over all of them. Some of them are, one of my other favorites is crystals. So I can actually test their body for crystal frequencies and kind of determine what it is that they need at that moment. Now, it's always funny to me what comes up for crystals because they always coincide with what else comes up in the session. So Imperial Red Jasper actually helps to open the heart chakra and integration of other chakras too, which you saw there were 4 out of 7 that were blocked. Pseudo-Brookite brings closure, allows people to feel complete at the end of relationships. And Dolomite, which helps to establish balance and selfishness, which show up for her. And then Malachite is a powerful healing stone. And then we look at the top 4 and then the bottom. So Wolfenite aids in metabolism and mineral absorption, which we know because of the digestion issues that could be a possibility, and that's chronic. So we could provide her with all of these frequencies if we wanted to. And then another area that we'll go to is the vitamins and mineral panel. Now, I don't always check minerals, but I do, depending on how the session's going and what they need. I usually always check vitamins and amino acids. Now, amino acids are really powerful for anxiety and digestion because there are certain amino acids that will affect your body's ability to process anxiety and depression. We look at GABA, we look at tryptophan, we look at phenylalanine, and taurine. Tyrosine, I'm sorry. Tyrosine. Promotes the healthy functioning of the thyroid, adrenal, and pituitary glands. So typically anxiety is related to the endocrine system being weak. Pituitary and adrenals are both part of that. So she's okay. She doesn't suffer from anxiety, but these are some of the things that I look at with people that do. So I just want to show you guys real fast what we do for balancing. So we're going to go into the organ panel. So basically what we're trying to do is we're trying to get your body to rectify to 80% or higher. So percent rectified means that your body has absorbed those frequencies of that ailment or that imbalance, and it's clearing that frequency. I'm going to do another video pretty soon on what it means to be in balance, but I'm actually looking at a candle right now that I think would be perfect for that. So the stomach just went to 100%, and it's working on the hypothalamus right now. So the stomach cleared really well. Now, if we were to do something that there was a really high imbalance, or if it was getting stuck because of an emotion, it would only go to 6 or 18 or 24. And so when we're working on the body, we can kind of tell where those blocks are and where it's stuck based off of what percentage it gets rectified to. So I just wanted to show you guys real quick the balancing aspect of it and how easy it is. See how immune system only went to 14. That would indicate that she's definitely fighting something. So we can test for anything that we want, basically. I mean, we can look at digestion, we can work on specific areas, illnesses or diseases or ailments, or specific areas of the body. We can look at, we can do dental. We also actually have a TMJ stim that's really helpful for TMJ pain. And you can look at circulation, you can look at the heart, you can look at every bone, you can look at brain waves, you can test for ADD, you can test for ADHD. So I just want to give you guys a quick, I know it's not quick, it's still 20 minutes, but kind of a rundown of what it is that biofeedback looks like and how it works, and then hopefully you will understand it a little bit better so that you're not so scared or curious. And I hope that this helps. Thanks, guys.